Hey guys, welcome back to Neatly Planned. Today I thought I would do something a little bit special. As you guys get to know me a little bit more, I thought it would be great for you guys to meet my mister, aka Mr. Patterson. His name is Charles, and share a little bit about our love story and how we met. And so I have a couple questions. He doesn't know what they are, and so you guys will kind of get our first impressions on what the questions are. He's going to do great. And so let's jump in it. Let's talk in more questions. So the first question is, how and where did we meet?
So I'm prior military, and we met at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. I was there for a 3-week training, and she was working at the military base. So that's how we met. Well, that's where we met.
Where we met. So I'll tell how we met. So yes, I was working at Fort McCoy. It was my first job after graduating. I had just graduated from undergrad, and it was a job I did not want. And I like to put that in there because had I, got the job I originally wanted, I never would have met him. So
the funny thing is, I didn't want to go to the training that I was there for. So I think she was trying to get out of the job, and I was trying to get out of the training. So
we would have missed one another. So be okay with life detours. And so actually how we met was I had a coworker at the time. We were having this conversation this particular day about what our types were in guys. And so all the guys she was pointing out were so opposite of guys that I would have been interested in. All the guys she pointed out were very, they had full sleeve tats. And of course we're talking military. So again, you can only see some of their tattoos, or if they're in civilian clothes, you could see their tattoos. Or they were guys that were just kind of, the guys can have facial hair, but they were still kind of scruffy, kind of looking. They just weren't my type. Disclaimer, I don't like light skin, was not my thing. And so she was pointing out all these guys that were light skin. I love chocolate, as you can see. And so they just weren't my type. And so she was sick of me talking about the guys that she was picking out. And so she was like, well, what's your type? I'm so sick of hearing you telling me about, and my husband was the next person. He was the next guy. And so basically at the time, my job was to observe the mess halls that they had for the military. And so we would have to temp the food and make sure they had everything that they were supposed to have on the lines by government regulations and all of that. And so this particular day, he was the next guy in line. So she was like, what's your type? And I pointed to him. And I'm not a pointer. I think that's so rude. And he just kind of looked at us and smiled and kind of went on. So to put this in context, we see probably 15 to 2,000 soldiers per day. So the odds of him being the next person in line was kind of weird. And the fact that he was my type, he was very clean cut. He has this really nice goatee now, but he didn't have that. He was super clean, like a baby face. He had great waves because he would take his cap off because they were indoors. And so too, a lot of the guys then were working out in the field. So they would come in and they would be real dirty, looking like they rolled around in mud. His uniform would be spotless. I still, to this day, I don't know how he managed that.
It's hard work being this clean.
So he says. But he was just always clean. His nails were really groomed. And that was a big thing for me. That was a huge turnoff, seeing guys with dirty fingernails. I don't know why, it's always been a thing for me. And his hands were really well manicured. My husband has really great nail beds. I'm a hand person. I know. But he has what I like to call piano fingers. They're long fingers, but really nice nail beds. And his hands were always clean, which it would kill me that guys would come in there and their hands would be dirty, but they're going to eat food. A whole nother conversation. But that is how we met. And so...
When we're coming back in from the fields, we don't have an opportunity to go wash our hands and stuff like that.
They have a very short time frame.
Window to do a lot of stuff. That's the reason why. Whenever you come through the door, they have a little hand sanitizer section. So that's kind of the military way of hand washing your hands.
So how we actually start dating was he was there for 3 weeks for training, and so all during this time him and I are making kind of small talk. Literally these are probably 5-second conversation, 10 seconds, how's your day going, and good. And so finally They were having something. Your unit was having something.
Yeah, my unit there was a club on base, and I think it was called McCoy's.
Yeah.
It was called McCoy's.
So it was like a bowling alley / like club. Like they played music and things like that.
So my unit was supposed to go to McCoy's, and I asked her for her number.
I did not give it to him.
She did not, and she said, "Well, give me your number instead."
What's wrong with that?
That's like for all guys. That's like the universal code of this is not going anywhere, and I'm really trying to let you down nicely.
That was not the case.
So whenever she asked for my number, I immediately told myself, "Oh, this is a wrap. This is no."
That's not true. My job at the time, I wasn't allowed to fraternize with the soldiers. And so again, at this time, this was a good job for me. And so I was like, I'm not going to lose my job dealing with a guy. And I had heard horror stories from some of my coworkers who broke the rules and started dating these soldiers who were there for training but had wives and girlfriends. And it was just always heartbreaking. So I was like, I'm not getting involved. And so I was like, you can give me your number. But, and so what happened was he gave me his phone number. I ripped it up and I threw it in the trash. And I came back to work on Monday, and his number was still there, and I texted him.
It was meant to be.
It was because they never leave trash. And so, actually, in my scrapbook, I have his phone number. That's when you didn't have your cell phone, and I kept the number. I pieced it back together. It's in my scrapbook, and so we start texting. And then we eventually start dating. It was at first I thought he was kind of a creeper because I wasn't a texter.
Oh, man.
I wasn't a texter back then. This is like 2009.
A creeper.
He was a creeper because back in 2009, like I didn't feel like people were like attached to their phones like that.
We were in 2008.
Maybe I was a workaholic. I was working.
I was working too. That's why I was there. I was working.
Yeah, but not the same. Like, I didn't have jobs where I could be on my phone. At the time, I had my job on the military base. Of course, because of security, we just can't have our phones out like that. And then I was waitressing. So if you've ever waitressed, you can't have your phone out on the floor when you're working. So I just didn't have my phone. It was like very short windows of where I can actually check my phone. And so he would text me, and I maybe would text him back. Of course, I'm working my full-time job. Sometimes I was going to my part-time job in the evenings. And so I might text him the next day. And so finally he texted me one day. He was like, if you don't want me to bother you, just let me know.
Y'all, I'm not used. I'm not used to texting somebody and them texting me back 24 hours later.
It wasn't long.
That's a long time.
Look, put it in context. I had been single for a while too. And so I wasn't used to, having to call a guy or text a guy right back. Like, I was enjoying singlehood. And so him responding, I'm like, we're not even dating. Like, I'm trying to figure out if I even like you. And so to get that kind of response, I was like, okay, that's kind of like strike one. But we figured it out. He's a texter, and I was a phone conversation kind of gal. And so we kind of had to work together on that. I finally pulled him over to the phone conversations. Yes, that's how that went.
A little bit. A little bit. Well, when we actually started dating, yes. But I feel like everybody is a phone conversation person.
Then, yeah. But in the beginning,
it's the honeymoon stage.
It was a little rocky. So that's kind of how we met and start dating. Yeah. And then we got engaged 3 months after dating. That's a whole nother video. So we're not even gonna jump into that. That's a long story. So next question: how long have you guys been together, relationship and marriage?
Okay, so we met in the summer of 2009. We got engaged about 3 months after that, and we got married December 28, 2010. So we've been together for 9 years and 8 years married.
That's December. Okay. And how did you know I was the one? Like to know this one.
How did I know?
I mean, besides the obvious, like total package. No, JK. I was a work in progress. I was a diamond in the rough at the time.
A real rough diamond.
I was raised by very independent women. So I was a little rough, like I was very, like I had...
Real gritty diamond.
No, I had the Miss Independent complex. I'm gonna be honest. I did. Like, I don't need no guy. I got this. You know, I'm a recent college grad. I'm a black woman. I got this all together. I don't need no man. I'm fine by myself if I don't ever get married. I did.
Like sandpaper.
Now you pushing it, sir. So that's when I say I'm a diamond in the rough. Not on my qualifications. On paper, I was great, but I just had to work on some of the other stuff.
We all have to work on something.
We do.
Let's see. How did I know? It was our conversation. I felt like I really, really grilled her. Question wise, whenever we first got on the phone and started having our conversations in the beginning, I would ask her questions like, what are your short-term goals? What are your intermediate goals? What are your long-term goals? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? How many kids do you want to have? I asked all the questions that I guess apparently a lot of guys don't ask, because she was like, this is really not normal.
It's not. I used to joke and tell some of my girlfriends when him and I first started dating, I was like, I'm waiting for him to do something wrong. Like, you know how it's almost like too good. It's almost like we joke, we pray for all these things and pray for the perfect. No one's perfect, but pray for someone that has like qualities that we think we need. And then when it shows up, it's almost like you're scared. You're waiting for the floor to fall underneath you. And so basically for me, how I knew he was the one was he was the first guy that I had dated that pushed me spiritually. And what I mean by that, I grew up in the church. I always dated guys. They would go to church with me, but really relationship-wise, they weren't really big on that. And so I think maybe the first or second question that he asked me was I saved? And of course I answered that like, of course, yes, I'm saved. And he was like, no, like, but do you have a relationship with Christ? And I was like, well, I think I do, you know, of course, I think I do. And so we began to like dig really deep.
I think that was probably question number 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, you know, most guys, you're like...
I wasn't wasting any time.
He was not. He was like, I felt like it was like, we get married tomorrow if she answered these questions correctly. Like, I felt like, and it wasn't even, I couldn't answer them in a way that I would just be putting on for him, because it would be like, it would be the question and then it would be my answer, and then why do you feel that way? Or what experience have you had to, you know, make you feel that? I mean, it was very onion like, layer after layer after layer with one question with him. And so we spent a lot of time, like one of the first gifts that he gave me was the Message Bible. And this was really big for me. All of my life, I grew up Kojic. And I had only read the King James Version. That was the only Bible that I knew. And he would read like the NIV, and we kind of ended up start having these unofficial like Bible studies, just because at that time I was like really trying to get an understanding of the word and scripture for myself. And so we would read it on all these different, and I remember he read it in the Message, read some passages that I knew from memorization.
If you don't know, the Message Bible is kind of like what the Bible would sound like in 2000s or to today's
language,
English.
Yeah.
So
and it just makes it simple. It takes out all the arts and the vowels, and it's just the meat. Like, I know what this means. I can read it and I understand it. I don't feel like I need all these translations or a study Bible with my regular Bible. It just made it simple. And that was big for me. And so that was like a big. And he prayed with me. We prayed for one another. We prayed about our relationship. And that was big. That was like unofficially like, ooh, you can get it, but Lord help me. Keep me from giving it to him. That's true. That's the truth. Being honest. It was very, very attractive. And so that was a big thing. That's how I knew he was the one. Cut it out. Okay, so next question. What key elements make a successful relationship and marriage? You want to answer?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Oh, these are questions. I guess they for me. They already know.
They're for us.
Oh, okay. Ask me the question again.
What key elements make a successful relationship and marriage.
What key elements make a successful relationship and marriage? Communication.
Definitely.
I think communication probably coupled with compromise. At least for us, that was a big deal for us. I feel like communication can cut down on a lot of arguments if you're just willing to, communicate and hear each other out, but not just communicate, because you can communicate all day long, and if you're not willing to compromise on the things that don't really matter, then you can kind of pave the way for more conflict and confrontation. So I think when it comes to the things that don't really matter, be willing to compromise. I think one of the things that we ended up having an argument about when we first got together was, what detergent do you use? I think she used Tide and I used Gain.
Yeah. Silly, but again, it was a full argument, and again, I was diamond in the rough, and so I was very like, well, why? Like, it's, detergent, like, I'm going to be, mainly doing a lot of the laundry, like.
And I was the same way too. I use Gain. We gonna use Gain. We're not gonna use
his mom
Tide.
used Gain. It's like, that's their family thing, and so I think that was.
Gain does smell better than Tide.
We use Gain now, just for the record.
No, we use Tide. We used Gain, but then we switched over to Tide.
So we used a bit of both.
I did a little bit of research, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I think Tide actually has more cleaning power than Gain, but Gain smells better than Tide.
Comparison for the two for you guys. For me, I think a key to a successful marriage for us has been to definitely not just to communicate, but to identify what that looks like for each person. You could be saying the same thing, but it means different things to each person. For example, saying that you want more affection. For me, affection was something simple. I think him and I had this early on. I was like, I want more affection. And I'm not like a touchy, oh, love on me kind of girl. That's not me. But for affection, for me, I wanted to hold his hand in public. He's not a hand holder, guys. As you guys can see, it's like awkward. But he's not a hand holder. But that was like what I wanted. That's what I saw, like married couples. They're out, they hold hands.
No, hold on. As soon as we get out the car. Hold my hand.
No, that's not true.
Well, can I lock the doors? Can I lock the doors to the car first?
That's not true. But I do like to hold his hand. And so for him, when I'm saying like I need more affection, he's thinking I'm saying like, be with me, be under me, I gotta be with you. And that's not what I'm saying. I want to hold his hand in public. So again, vocalizing what it is that you want or need for a particular thing. Even if you say romance. For some people, they think romance is, chocolates and candies and flowers. Flowers are gonna die. Romance for me is like you are helping to you're thinking about me, you're putting thought into something that would be nice for me. So for instance, that could be for, him maybe doing the laundry for me, and that being put away, I can come home and it's already done. Or for him, like romance for him would be like, let's have a game night, or a Saturday, we're gonna stay in, I got popcorn and snacks, I'm gonna order our favorite pizza place, but that's the things that he loves. And so being able to compromise on what that looks like for each person.
Which brings it back to communication.
Yes.
I feel like you have to communicate what it is that you want from your partner or your spouse, because I feel like a lot of people do what they want from their spouse, expecting their spouse to automatically know what it is that they want, because I'm doing this for you, so I'm expecting you to do it for me. And that people aren't mind readers. So I think you need to express it, verbalize it.
Say what you want. So if it's you're wanting more quality time, I think that was a big thing for us too, identifying what that looked like for us. Because I was like, I want to spend time with you. That doesn't mean we have to go out. Like I'm a homebody, so once I'm home, I like to socialize and be out too, but I can be at home too. And so for us, spending time is not necessarily doing something necessarily together. We could be on the couch doing two different things. Like he could be on his computer, I could be watching TV. It's just being, I guess, in the vicinity of one another for us, knowing he's there with me, not necessarily interacting together. For some people, that might be they need face-to-face. And so I think it's just being clear on what that is and what each person needs. And for us, I think a big key is you have to be willing to do some things that you may not love for the other person because it's something that they enjoy. And what you will find too, yes,
I'm trying to figure out what you do that you don't love.
But there's some things that I've learned to love. I think, too, if you love that individual, you will learn to appreciate some of the things that they enjoy.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Like, I just think it's, my husband's a huge music head. He will sing all the time, anywhere, listen to music all day. That's not my thing. But it was a big thing. He loves watching YouTube. He's a YouTube junkie. And so he would watch all these YouTube videos and want to show me the YouTube videos. Now, do I want to sit and watch these videos? No. But because he loves them and it brings him joy, I will watch them. I mean, it's things like that. Does he love to sit up and sit in the craft room with me when I'm crafting? No. But I like his company. So sometimes he'll sit in here when I'm crafting. It's those small things, like support the other person.
Yeah, support the other person.
I think that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. Who said I love you first?
I think I did. I think I said it like that too. I think I said, I think I love you.
You did. And it was late at night. It's one of them long phone conversations when I pulled him over to the other side.
Your back gonna break from all that patting you doing this to yourself.
Okay, the final question. What am I good at?
What are you good at?
What am I good at? And then I'll tell you what you're good at.
Okay.
Or what I think you're good at.
I think that you are... I think you're good at anything creative. Anything that requires you to use your creativity gets your very best. I don't know if they know this, but she used to be a fashion merchandiser, and so she was she was the person that was in charge of making sure the store looked a certain way in order to help maximize profit for that particular store and the business. So she was one of the best. I think you ended up getting to travel to other stores within your particular region. And every single store that she ended up working in, that store saw increased revenue. She was a scrapbooker when I first met her, and her scrapbooks were super elaborate. And I'm like, this is what scrapbooking looks like. So, I'm like, this is...
I was fancy. I wanted to document our love story. So I started a scrapbook when him and I first started dating. And I actually have his phone number he gave me in my original scrapbook. So
anything creative. She also would do event planning, her table layouts. I mean, anything that has to do with using her creativity and her imagination is just A1.
Thanks, boo. Well, what is he good at? He's good at a lot of things. I always joke and I say it jokingly, but I really mean it. He is one of the smartest people that I've ever met. He can teach himself how to do just about anything. If there's a YouTube video on it, a manual, he will figure it out. He will figure out how to build it, how to make it, how to fix it. He's my Mr. Fixer. What else is he good at? He is good at music. He is very talented. I think he's kind of he got that naturally from his mom. But he can sing all the parts. Soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. He is just good with music, arranging music, writing music. really good. He is our youth and young adult minister of music at our church. I'm pretty proud of him. What else is he good at? He's good at being organized in the details.
I feel like I need to come up with some more stuff.
And he's really good with finances. And that's just a few. We're not going to gas his head up. But guys, that's a little bit about us and how we met. A little advice. If you guys would like for us to do like a couples or relationship series, let us know. Drop some of your suggestions for possible videos for us down in the comments. You want to close it?
And until next time, keep sweet.